Hello, all, and what we're going to talk today about is actually going to be POMC. What's POMC? Well, you're going to soon find out. And what we actually get from it is a lot of the different signal molecules. Basically, the idea is that POMC, which is actually proopiomelanocortin, is a precursor to a lot of the different proteins synthesized, or proopiomelanocortin is synthesized in the anterior pituitary. So you have the brain. Here you go, a beautiful brain. And you have the pituitary gland over here, and on the anterior side of it, and actually in the intermediate one as well. Also in the hypothalamus region over here, and some peripheral tissues. POMC by itself is not really active, but what's actually happening is that it's a precursor to a lot of different biologically active peptides that are used in a lot of the cell signaling that we're going to talk about. So POMC, which is produced, as said, in the pituitary for mostly, is a very complex and big macropeptide that you have over here. And what actually happens from that is you produce a lot of the different single molecules by splitting up with different enzymes. What enzymes you have? You have PC1 and also PC3, where you have is well PC2 as well, and you have CPE, PAM, and multiple different carboxypeptidases. And all of these basically scissor out. Here you have some beautiful scissors. Scissor out the POMC to parts and produce the different parts and different single molecules from this one large molecule. And they happen in different places, and you get a lot of the different signaling molecules that are actually familiar to you from multiple different places in biology that and are actually secreted out. Okay, and we are going to talk about what we actually can derive from POMC. So what's actually happening with POMC is said we cut off all of the parts from POMC. So wait, lose my pen here. There we go, better. So we have POMC as the precursor. What happens to POMC, for example, is that from POMC we produced in the anterior pituitary, we produced ACTH, which is the adrenocorticotropic hormone that we produce on the anterior side. What we also produce on the anterior side is beta LPH, which is cleaved from the same one and is actually cleaved by PC1/3. What then also happens on the intermediary side, so around, let me see, my beautiful pituitary here, the intermediate side of it, and also on the hypothalamus side of it, what happens over there is that you have PC2 as the enzyme which cleaves it. And what you get out of that one is actually, you go away, what you get out of that is different kind of MSH peptides and some endorphins. And there's also a third way that this is also happening is some of this happens in peripheral tissues. What happens in peripheral tissues is that, for example, skin kernocytes produce MSH peptides under UV lights. So totally different process from the two ones happening in the pituitary. So you have a lot of these different, very important messenger enzymes that's happening that are cleaved from the same molecule are then going to a lot of different places. Of course, ACTH is the adrenocorticotropic hormone. So what it does, it's cleaved from the POMC, becomes ACTH. that goes into the bloodstream, goes to the adrenal cortex, and causes, for example, cortical synthesis in there. What we have on the LPH side is what happens in the beta LPH side is what actually happens. The beta LPH becomes the endorphin. So that comes from there. And what happens on the other side of it as well with PC2, you get also a lot of the different endorphins from there, and you get some of the MSH peptides like alpha MSH. My handwriting is still terrible. So that's something that binds to melanocytes. It actually produces the eumelanin for skin pigmentation, what's happening in there. And then you also have the beta MSH. And it's less prominent, but what it does is regulates body weight and appetite. What's happening over there. And the same can also happen on the skin reaction. So many of these that we have over here, ACTH and all the others, for example, tie into a lot of the different signaling molecules on physiological systems as well. So basically on ATH side, you have stress response. For ACTH becoming cortisol. What you have is pigmentation, where alpha MSH drives the formation of MC1R, which then produces a lot of the pigmentation. And then you have molecules controlling energy, homeostasis, and appetite, like the alpha and beta MSH that we're producing from here. We get pain, or let's say pain modulation. So pain reduction from that, what you get is you get beta endorphins, and that of course goes into your opioid receptors. And latest, you have blood pressure regulation. Oops. Still getting out of the hang of this. There we go. And that is produced by YMSH. So all in all, 1-POMC is used as a precursor to a lot of the different diverse peptides that are used in messaging in a lot of different places that you get from one source. And if you remember these, you're a long way ahead.